he noticed his girlfriend ordering the same coffee every morning at 6 a.m. When he checked the receipts, his blood ran cold. This is the story of Ethan Skywalker, a man who thought he knew everything about the woman he was planning to marry, until a simple coffee order unraveled a web of lies that had been carefully constructed for over 2 years. Hey beautiful souls. Welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad you're here with me today for this absolutely wild story. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. Are you team early bird or team night owl? And hey, if you're new here, we share the most jaw-dropping real-life stories about relationships, revenge, and redemption. Hit that subscribe button and join our amazing community. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next in this story. Ethan Skywalker was a creature of habit. Every morning at 6:15 a.m., he'd wake to the smell of fresh coffee his girlfriend Claire would bring him in bed. She'd kiss his forehead, whisper good morning sleepyhead, and head off to her morning jog. It was their ritual. Their sacred thing. For 2 years, this had been the rhythm of their life together in their small apartment in downtown Seattle. But Ethan had no idea that this sweet morning gesture was actually the cover for something he could never have imagined. It started on a Tuesday. Ethan's laptop died mid-project. Deadline in 4 hours. Claire had already left for her jog. Her tablet sat on the kitchen counter, charging. He grabbed it, opened it. The screen lit up to her banking app, still logged in. Ethan wasn't snooping. He just needed to access his cloud storage. But the banking app was right there, and something caught his eye. Riverside Café. 8 point for $7. 6:03 a.m. The charge repeated. Over and over. He scrolled faster, his heart hammering. 2 years. The charges went back 2 full years. Ethan lived in Capitol Hill. Riverside Cafe was across town, near the industrial district. A 25-minute drive minimum. Claire left at 5:50 a.m. She returned at 6:20 a.m. 30 minutes total. The math didn't work. Unless she wasn't jogging. Unless she'd never been jogging. His hand started shaking. He'd been through this before. His ex-wife Sarah. The lies. The lipstick on collars. The way she'd look him dead in the eye and swear she'd been at book club when he knew she'd been somewhere else. That betrayal had shattered his ability to trust his own judgment. Claire was supposed to be different. Transparent. Warm. Present. When Ethan had panic attacks about being lied to again, Claire would hold his face and say, "I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. You can trust me." And he did. God, he did. But now the questions flooded in. Why was she driving across town every morning? Who was she meeting? What was at Riverside Cafe that she needed so badly she'd lied about it for 2 years? Before we dive deeper, if you're new here, hi love. I'm glad you made it. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss stories that touch the heart. Ethan made a decision. Next Tuesday, he'd follow her. The week crawled by. Ethan tried to act normal. He kissed Claire good morning. He drank the coffee she brought. But he couldn't stop seeing that transaction list. 8 point for $7. 6:03 a.m. over and over like a heartbeat he couldn't escape. That Tuesday, Ethan woke at 5:45 a.m. By the time Claire's alarm went off at 5:50 a.m., he was already in his car parked half a block down, watching their apartment entrance through the rain-blurred windshield. At 5:52 a.m., Claire emerged. She wasn't in jogging clothes. She wore jeans. A jacket. Her hair was down. She walked quickly to her car, glancing around before getting in. Ethan followed. 23 minutes later, she pulled into a parking lot next to Riverside Cafe. Ethan parked across the street, behind a delivery truck. He watched as Claire walked inside, ordered at the counter, got 2 cups, and sat down at a corner table, where a man was waiting. Ethan's entire world tilted sideways. The man was older. Mid-40s. Salt and pepper hair. Expensive suit, charcoal grey. He looked out of place in the dingy café. Claire sat across from him. They didn't hug. Didn't touch. But the way they looked at each other. Familiar. Intimate. Like they'd done this 1,000 times before. They talked. The man leaned forward. Claire nodded, her expression serious. Then the man reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. White, letter-sized. He slid it across the table. Claire took it. Slipped it into her purse. Ethan's mind went to the darkest places. Blackmail. Drugs. An affair turned transactional. The meeting lasted exactly 23 minutes. Claire stood. The man stood. They shook hands. Professional. Cold. Then Claire walked out and drove away. Ethan sat frozen. He pulled out his phone with shaking hands and took a photo of the man's license plate. Then he drove home. When he walked into the apartment, Claire was in the shower, humming. 2 cups of coffee sat on the counter, still steaming. Ethan picked up his cup. Stared at it. And couldn't drink. Claire emerged wrapped in a towel, smiling. Kissed his cheek. You're the best. I don't know what I'd do without my coffee deliveries. She said it so easily. Like it was the truth. And Ethan realized he didn't know this woman at all. Ethan hadn't always been this way. Suspicious. Guarded. Watching the woman he loved like she was a puzzle with missing pieces. 3 years ago, he'd been different. Lighter. He believed in happily ever after. He believed in forever. Then he married Sarah, and forever lasted exactly 2 years before it shattered into a million jagged pieces that cut him every time he tried to pick them up. Sarah had been beautiful. Charismatic. The kind of woman who walked into a room and every head turned. Ethan had felt lucky. Undeserving, even. When she said yes to his proposal, he couldn't believe it. A woman like that choosing a guy like him, a quiet software developer who preferred coding to parties, books to bars. The signs had been there from the beginning. Late nights at the office. Phone calls she'd take in another room. Perfume he didn't recognize. But Sarah had explanations for everything, delivered with a smile so confident that Ethan questioned his own sanity instead of her fidelity. Until he found the messages. Hundreds of them. Plans. Hotel rooms. I love you's meant for someone else. The divorce had been brutal. Not because of lawyers or money, but because it rewired something fundamental in Ethan's brain. Trust became a luxury he couldn't afford. Love became a risk he swore he'd never take again. Then Claire Ripley walked into his life at his best friend's wedding. Tyler Bourne was getting married, and Ethan was the best man. He'd given a speech about love conquering all, words he didn't believe anymore but said anyway because that's what best men do. During the bouquet toss, a woman with auburn hair and green eyes caught it, laughed, and tossed it directly at Ethan. You look like you need this more than I do, she'd said. That was Claire. Bold. Playful. Unafraid. They talked all night. She was a marketing consultant, worked with nonprofits, loved terrible reality TV and good wine. She made Ethan laugh for the first time in months. When she asked for his number, he almost said no. Almost told her he was too broken for this. But something about her felt safe. Their first date turned into their second. Their second into staying up until 3 a.m. talking about everything and nothing. Claire was different from Sarah in every way. She was open. Honest. She'd answer his calls on the first ring. She'd text him photos of her lunch, her desk, random dog she saw on the street. She left sticky notes on his bathroom mirror with little hearts and terrible puns. When Ethan told her about Sarah, about the cheating, about how it had destroyed his ability to trust, Claire hadn't run. She'd held his hands and said, "I'm not her. I'll prove it to you every single day if I have to." And she did. For 2 years, she proved it. Until now. Now Ethan sat at his desk, staring at the photo of the license plate on his phone. The black Mercedes. The mystery man. The envelope. He needed answers. And hey, while you're here, if you haven't subscribed yet, I'd love to have you as part of the family. Go on, I'll wait. Ethan called Tyler. Tyler Bourne had been his best friend since college. They'd been roommates, groomsmen in each other's weddings, the kind of friends who knew each other's worst moments and stayed anyway. After Ethan's divorce, Tyler had let him sleep on his couch for 3 months, never once complaining about the depression or the silence or the way Ethan would sometimes just stare at walls for hours. Tyler was also a private investigator. Specialized in corporate cases mostly, but he knew how to dig up information on anyone. "What's up?" Tyler answered on the second ring. "I need you to run a plate for me." Silence. Then, whose plate? "I don't know." "That's why I need you to run it." More silence. Ethan could practically hear Tyler thinking, weighing whether to ask questions or just help. "Send it to me," Tyler finally said. Ethan texted the photo. Waited. His leg bounced under his desk. Rain drummed against the window. Somewhere in the apartment, Claire's phone buzzed with a notification. She was at work. She had no idea he knew. 20 minutes later, Tyler called back. "Vincent Lebowski," Tyler said. Age 46. Real estate investor. Owns a development company downtown. Divorced 5 years ago. No criminal record. Lives in Madison Park. Net worth around $12 million. Ethan's stomach dropped. $12 million. What was Claire doing with a man worth $12 million? "Why are you asking about this guy?" Tyler asked carefully. Ethan told him everything. The charges. The café. The envelope. The lies. When he finished, Tyler was quiet for a long moment. "Look, man," Tyler finally said. "I know what you're thinking. But maybe it's not what it looks like." "Then what is it?" "What innocent explanation involves secret meetings and envelopes full of God knows what?" "I don't know. But before you blow up your relationship, maybe you should find out for sure." "How?" "Let me do some more digging. See what I can find on this Lebowski guy. In the meantime, you need to decide if you're going to talk to Claire or keep playing detective." Ethan hung up. Stared at his screen. Claire's face smiled back at him from his desktop wallpaper. They'd taken that photo at the beach last summer. She was laughing, sand in her hair, sunset painting everything gold. He couldn't talk to her yet. Not until he knew what he was dealing with. Because if he confronted her and she lied, he'd never believe another word she said. And if she told the truth and it destroyed them, he wasn't sure he'd survive it. So he kept playing detective. That night, while Claire was in the shower, Ethan went to their storage unit in the building's basement. He told himself he was looking for an old hard drive. He told himself this wasn't a violation. But his hands went straight to Claire's section. The plastic bins with her college textbooks. The box with her winter clothes. And there, in the back corner, a showbox labeled photos. Ethan opened it. On top were actual photos. Claire as a kid, gapped and grinning. Claire as a teenager, awkward braces years. Claire with her mom, both of them laughing at something off camera. Underneath the photos, envelopes. White. Letter-sized. Identical to the one he'd seen that morning. His hand shook as he opened the first one. Inside, cash. Crisp $100 bills. He counted. $500 exactly. He opened another. 500. Another. 500. There were dozens of envelopes. He didn't count them all. Couldn't. His vision was blurring, his breath coming too fast. Thousands of dollars. Hidden. Secret. Paid by a multimillionaire she met with every Tuesday for 2 years. Ethan put everything back exactly as he'd found it. Closed the box. Walked back upstairs on autopilot. Claire was in the kitchen making dinner, singing along to some pop song on her phone. She smiled when she saw him. "Find what you were looking for?" "No," he lied. "Must have thrown it out." She kissed his cheek. Went back to chopping vegetables. Ethan excused himself to the bathroom. Locked the door. Sat on the edge of the tub and tried to breathe through the panic attack clawing up his throat. What was she doing? Who was she? And why did the woman he loved feel like a complete stranger? The next Tuesday arrived like a death sentence. Ethan had barely slept all week. Every time Claire touched him, he flinched. Every time she smiled, he wondered what she was hiding behind it. He'd become a ghost in his own relationship, watching from the outside, terrified of what he'd see if he looked too close. Tyler had sent updates. Vincent Lebowski was clean. No shady business dealings. No affairs that Tyler could find. He was wealthy, successful, boring. Which somehow made everything worse. Because if this guy was legitimate, what did he want with Claire? At 5:45 a.m., Ethan was back in his car. Same spot. Same rain. Same sick feeling in his stomach. Claire emerged at 5:52 a.m. Jeans and a jacket. Hair down. She drove the same route. 23 minutes to Riverside Cafe. But this time, Ethan didn't just watch. This time, he waited until Claire and Vincent were deep in conversation. Then he got out of his car, pulled his hood up, and walked into the cafe. The place smelled like burnt coffee and old grease. A handful of customers sat scattered at tables, mostly construction workers and early shift warehouse employees. No one looked up when Ethan entered. He ordered a black coffee from a disinterested barista, then took a seat in the corner with a clear view of Claire's table. She had her back to him. Vincent faced his direction but wasn't paying attention to anything except Claire. They were talking intensely. Claire's hands moved as she spoke, the way they always did when she was passionate about something. Vincent nodded, his expression serious. Not romantic. Not flirtatious. Something else. Something that felt almost paternal. Ethan's phone buzzed. Tyler. Found something. Call me. Ethan stepped outside into the rain. Called. So I dug deeper on Lebowski, Tyler said without preamble. Went back further in his history. And I found something interesting. Before he was Vincent Lebowski, real estate mogul, he was Vincent Lebowski, deadbeat dad. What? He had a daughter. Abandoned the family when the kid was 6. There's a record of a restraining order filed by the mother. Domestic disturbance calls. Then he disappeared. Changed cities. Got sober, apparently. Built his company from the ground up. But here's the thing, man. The daughter's name was Claire. Claire Lebowski. Ethan's world stopped spinning. Wait. You're saying? I'm saying Vincent Lebowski is Claire's father. The phone almost slipped from Ethan's hand. He looked back through the cafe window. Claire and Vincent. Not lovers. Not business partners. Father and daughter. But Claire told me her father was dead, Ethan said quietly. She said he died when she was young. Well, he didn't. Tyler paused. Look, I don't know what's going on between them. But this changes things, right? This isn't an affair. This is family, Ethan finished. This is family. He hung up. Stood in the rain. Watched through the window as Vincent slid the envelope across the table. Claire took it, her expression unreadable. And suddenly, Ethan understood nothing at all. Because if Vincent was her father, why had she lied? Why the secrecy? Why meet at a rundown cafe at 6 a.m. instead of a normal place at a normal time? What was in those envelopes? Why was her father paying her? And why, after 2 years together, had Claire never once mentioned that her father was alive? Ethan waited until Claire left. Watched her drive away. Then he walked back into the cafe and sat down across from Vincent Lebowski. Vincent looked up, startled. "Excuse me?" "I know you've been meeting with Claire," Ethan said. His voice was steadier than he felt. "I'm her boyfriend. And I need to know what's going on." Vincent's face went pale. The color drained so fast it was almost comical. He set down his coffee cup carefully, like he was worried his hands might shake. "She didn't tell you," Vincent said. "It wasn't a question." "Tell me what?" Vincent closed his eyes. Took a breath. When he opened them again, they were filled with something that looked like grief. "I'm her father." The words hung between them. Ethan already knew, but hearing it out loud made it real. Made it undeniable. "She told me you were dead." Vincent flinched like he'd been slapped. "I might as well have been. I left when she was 6. I was a drunk. Abusive. I put my hands on her mother. I destroyed that family. And when I finally sobered up 15 years later, when I tried to make amends, Claire wanted nothing to do with me. So what changed?" Vincent looked out the window. Rain streaked the glass. 3 years ago, I tracked her down. Sent letters. Called. She ignored all of it. Then one day, she called back. Said she'd meet me once. Just once. I could say what I needed to say, and then I'd leave her alone forever. And I apologized. Vincent's voice cracked. I told her everything. How sorry I was. How I'd gotten sober. How I'd built a life I wasn't ashamed of. And I told her I wanted to pay her back. Every cent of child support I never paid. Every birthday present I never gave. Every ounce of security I stole from her childhood. The envelopes, Ethan said. $500 a week. For 2 years. It's not enough. It'll never be enough. But it's what I can do. Why Tuesdays? Vincent's jaw tightened. Because I left on a Tuesday. She was 6 years old, and she watched me walk out the door on a Tuesday morning. So every Tuesday, I show up here and I give her what I owe her. And every Tuesday, she shows up and lets me. It's our way of rewriting that day, I guess. Why the secrecy? Ethan asked. Why not tell me? Vincent met his eyes. Because she's ashamed. Of me. Of where she came from. Of what she survived. He leaned forward. Look, I don't know you. But I know my daughter. And I know she's terrified that if people see where she came from, they'll think less of her. She's built this whole life where she's confident and successful and put together. But underneath, she's still that scared little girl watching her dad walk away. What does she do with the money? Vincent's expression softened. She's saving it. Every cent. She's going to donate it all to a children's charity. For kids whose parents are addicts. She doesn't want the money for herself. She never did. She just wants to make something good out of something terrible. Ethan sat back. His mind was reeling. None of this was what he'd expected. Not an affair. Not drugs. Not blackmail. Just a broken family trying to heal. And Claire, too ashamed to let him see. Does she know you're telling me this? Ethan asked. No. And she'll probably kill me when she finds out. But you deserve to know. Vincent stood. Left cash on the table. Before you judge her too harshly, remember that shame isn't rational. It's not about you. It's about her trying to protect herself from being seen as damaged. He walked out, leaving Ethan alone with cold coffee and a truth he didn't know how to carry. Ethan didn't confront Claire that day. Or the next. Or the one after that. Because how do you confront someone about a lie when you understand why they lied? How do you say I know your secret when the secret is trauma they're not ready to share? But the knowing was killing him. Every morning, Claire brought him coffee. Every morning, he drank it and tasted lies. She'd kiss his forehead. He'd feel like a stranger. She'd tell him about her day, and he'd wonder what else she wasn't telling him. The engagement ring sat in his sock drawer, mocking him. He'd bought it 6 months ago, had the whole proposal planned. A weekend trip to the San Juan Islands. Sunset on the beach. The life they'd build together. But how do you build a life with someone who won't let you see their foundation? Tyler called 3 days after the cafe confrontation. You okay, man? I don't know. Ethan was at his desk, staring at code he couldn't focus on. She lied to me for 2 years, Tyler. Every single day. How do I come back from that? She lied about her trauma. That's different than cheating. Is it? Ethan's voice rose. She made me share everything about Sarah. About how the lies destroyed me. And then she lied to my face every single morning while I poured my heart out to her. I get it. But, do you? Because I'm starting to think I don't know her at all. What else has she lied about? What else is she hiding? Tyler sighed. You're spiraling. This is what happened with Sarah. You got paranoid, you pushed, and it made everything worse. That's not fair. Isn't it? Tyler's voice was gentle but firm. Look, I'm not saying Claire was right to lie. But you need to decide what you're more afraid of. Being lied to again, or losing someone you love because you can't forgive them for being human. Ethan hung up. He knew Tyler was right. But knowing didn't make it easier. That night, Claire made dinner. Pasta carbonara, his favorite. She'd lit candles. Put on soft music. Tried to create romance in the space that had grown cold between them. You've been distant, she said, twirling pasta on her fork. Is everything okay? Just work stress. She reached across the table, took his hand. You can talk to me. You know that, right? The irony was suffocating. Can I? She frowned. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Ethan pulled his hand back. I'm just tired. Her eyes filled with hurt. If I did something wrong. You didn't. He forced a smile. I'm fine. Really. But he wasn't fine. And she knew it. The rest of dinner passed in painful silence. By the way, if you're listening and feeling this story already, you might as well subscribe. Don't be shy, join us. The following Tuesday, Ethan didn't follow her. He stayed in bed, listening to her move through the apartment. Heard her leave. Heard the door close. Imagined her driving to Riverside Cafe. Sitting with the father she'd erased from her history. When she came back with coffee, he pretended to be asleep. That afternoon, while she was at work, Ethan went back to the storage unit. Opened the show box. Counted the envelopes. 52 weeks a year. 2 years. 104 envelopes. $52,000. Hidden. Secret. Meant for charity but kept like a shameful inheritance. He found himself crying. Not because she'd lied. But because she'd been carrying this alone. Because she thought she had to. But that realization didn't erase his anger. It just complicated it. Claire tried to close the distance between them. She suggested date nights. Movie marathons. Weekend trips. But Ethan couldn't pretend anymore. Couldn't kiss her without thinking about Vincent. Couldn't hold her without wondering what other pieces of herself she'd locked away. You're pulling away from me, Claire said one night. They were in bed, backs to each other, miles apart despite inches between them. I can feel it. I'm not. You are. She rolled over, put her hand on his shoulder. Ethan, please. Talk to me. Whatever this is, we can fix it. He almost told her then. Almost said, I know about your father. I know about the money. I know you've been lying to me for 2 years. But the words stuck in his throat. Because once he said them, there was no going back. Once he admitted he'd followed her, invaded her privacy, dug through her secrets, they'd be in a different place. A place where trust was already broken on both sides. So instead, he said, I'm fine. Go to sleep. She didn't push. Just withdrew her hand and rolled away. That night, Ethan lay awake and realized something terrible. He'd become exactly what he swore he'd never be again. Paranoid. Suspicious. Checking her phone when she showered. Tracking her location. Turning love into surveillance. Sarah had made him this way once. And now Claire's secrets were making him this way again. The cycle was repeating. And Ethan didn't know how to stop it. 2 weeks after confronting Vincent, Ethan made a decision. He called Tyler. I need you to do something for me. Name it. Stop digging. Delete everything you found on Claire and Vincent. I don't want to know anything else. You sure? No. But I can't keep doing this. I either trust her or I don't. And if I don't, then we're already over. Tyler was quiet. Then, for what it's worth, I think you're making the right call. Ethan wasn't sure there was a right call anymore. That evening, Claire came home with takeout from their favorite Thai place. She'd been trying so hard lately. Little gestures. Desperate attempts to fix something she didn't even know was broken. They ate on the couch, some sitcom playing in the background neither of them watched. Claire suddenly turned to him. I love you. You know that, right? The words hit him like a punch. I know. I don't say it enough. But I do. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. Ethan looked at her. Really looked. Saw the woman who'd pulled him out of his post-divorce darkness. The woman who made him believe in second chances. The woman who was also a scared little girl protecting herself the only way she knew how. I love you too, he said. And he meant it. That was the worst part. He meant it completely. But love without trust was just beautiful destruction waiting to happen. And Ethan could feel the end coming like a storm on the horizon. Inevitable. Inescapable. The question wasn't if they'd break. It was when. The breaking point came on a Saturday night. Claire had planned a romantic dinner at home. She'd spent hours cooking, setting the table with candles, wearing the blue dress Ethan loved. She was trying so hard to save something she didn't know was dying. They sat across from each other, the space between them filled with everything unsaid. Ethan, Claire started, setting down her fork. We need to talk. His heart stopped. Okay. Something's wrong. Has been for weeks. And I need you to tell me what it is. Because I'm losing my mind here. She reached across the table, tried to take his hand. He let her, but his fingers stayed limp. Did I do something? Say something? Because whatever it is, I'll fix it. Just please talk to me. Ethan looked at her. At the desperation in her eyes. The love. The fear. And something inside him snapped. Your father's alive. The words came out flat. Cold. Like stating a fact about the weather. Claire's face went white. She pulled her hand back like she'd touched fire. What? Vincent Lebowski. Real estate investor. $12 million net worth. Meets you every Tuesday at Riverside Café. Gives you $500 a week. Been doing it for 2 years. Ethan's voice was mechanical, detached. Your father. Who you told me was dead. Claire stood up so fast her chair fell backward. How do you? I followed you. Ethan stood too. 3 weeks ago. I saw you meet him. I saw the envelope. And then I went to that cafe and I sat down across from him and I asked him what the hell was going on. You had no right. Claire's voice shook. You had no right to. No right? Ethan's anger finally erupted. You've been lying to me for 2 years. Every single morning. Every time you kissed me and brought me coffee and played the perfect girlfriend while sneaking off to meet your father. A father you told me was dead. Tears streamed down Claire's face. You don't understand. Then explain it to me. Make me understand why the woman I was going to marry couldn't trust me with the truth. The words hung there. Was going to marry. Claire's breath hitched. You were. I bought a ring 6 months ago. Ethan laughed bitterly. Had this whole proposal planned. But how do I propose to someone I don't even know? You know me. Do I? Because the Claire I know is honest. Transparent. The Claire I know held my face and promised she'd never lie to me. That she was different from Sarah. But you're not different, are you? You're just better at hiding it. That's not fair. Claire's voice broke completely. You have no idea what I've been through. Then tell me. Ethan stepped closer. Tell me why your father abandoned you. Tell me about the abuse. The poverty. The shame. Tell me why you're saving $52,000 to donate to charity. Tell me everything you've been hiding because you thought I couldn't handle it. Claire's eyes went wide. How much do you know? Everything. I know he left when you were 6. I know he was an alcoholic. I know he was abusive. I know he got sober and tracked you down 15 years later. I know he's trying to make amends and you're letting him because you're trying to heal. I know all of it, Claire. Everything except why you couldn't just tell me. Before we go on, quick question. Are you subscribed? If not, go ahead and fix that for me. I promise, I'll keep the stories coming. Claire collapsed onto the couch, her whole body shaking with sobs. Because I was scared. Of what? Of you seeing me the way I see myself. She looked up at him, mascara running, utterly destroyed. I'm damaged, Ethan. I come from violence and addiction and poverty. My father put his hands on my mother. I watched her work 3 jobs just to keep us fed. I wore thrift store clothes and got bullied for smelling like cigarette smoke. And I spent my entire adult life running from that little girl. Building a new version of myself. Someone confident and successful and put together. Someone worthy of being loved. You are worthy. Not if you knew where I came from. Claire's voice was barely a whisper. Sarah cheated on you. She broke you. And I thought if you knew my father was just like her, a liar and a cheat and someone who destroyed the people who loved him, you'd think I was the same. That it was in my blood. That I'd hurt you too eventually. That's not how it works. Isn't it? You've been pulling away from me for weeks. The second you found out about my father, you started looking at me differently. Like I'm someone you can't trust. And that's exactly what I was afraid of. Ethan sat down beside her. Not touching, but close. I pulled away because you lied. Not because of your father. Because you looked me in the eye every morning and lied. I was going to tell you. Claire wiped her face. After we got married. Once I felt secure enough. Once I knew you wouldn't leave. But that's not how trust works. You don't get to decide when I'm ready to know the truth about you. You don't get to protect me from your past by lying about it. I know. She turned to him. I know I was wrong. But Ethan, I've been in therapy for a year. Working through all of this. Building up the courage to tell you. Vincent kept pushing me to tell you sooner, but I needed time. I needed to feel like I'd healed enough that my past wouldn't define me. Your past doesn't define you. Your choices do. And you chose to lie. The silence between them was suffocating. What happens now? Claire finally asked. Ethan stood. Walked to the window. Looked out at the city lights blurred by rain. I don't know. I need time to think. Are you leaving? Not tonight. But he turned to face her. I can't keep pretending everything's fine when it's not. I need space. I need to figure out if I can get past this. Claire nodded, tears still falling. I understand. That night, they slept in the same bed but on opposite edges, a canyon of hurt between them. And for the first time in 2 years, Claire didn't bring Ethan coffee in the morning. Ethan moved out 3 days later. Tyler had a spare room in his apartment across town. Ethan showed up with a duffel bag and a hollow look in his eyes. Tyler didn't ask questions. Just opened the door and let him in. Claire called 17 times the first day. Texted constantly. I'm sorry. Please talk to me. I love you. I'll do anything. Just don't give up on us. Ethan read every message. Answered none of them. He told himself he needed space. Needed to clear his head. But the truth was darker. He was punishing her. Making her feel the abandonment she'd spent her whole life running from. And some sick part of him wanted her to hurt the way he was hurting. Tyler found him on the couch one night, staring at nothing, a beer in his hand he hadn't touched. You gonna talk about it or just sit here feeling sorry for yourself? What's there to talk about? Whether you're done or just taking a break. Because right now, you're in limbo. And limbo doesn't help anyone. I don't know if I can forgive her. Tyler sat down. Can't or won't? What's the difference? Can't means it's impossible. Won't means you're choosing not to. Tyler looked at him. She lied. That sucks. But she didn't cheat. She didn't steal. She didn't hurt you on purpose. She was protecting herself from trauma that had nothing to do with you. She made me share everything about Sarah. About how the lies destroyed me. And then she lied to my face for 2 years. Because she was scared. People do stupid things when they're scared. That's an excuse. No, it's context. Tyler leaned forward. Look man, you've got every right to be angry. But you need to ask yourself something. Are you angry because she lied, or are you angry because she has damage you can't fix? Ethan looked at him. What? Sarah cheated, and you couldn't stop it. Couldn't see it coming. Couldn't fix it. Tyler's voice was gentle but unrelenting. And now Claire has this whole traumatic past, and you can't fix that either. So maybe you're not angry about the lying. Maybe you're angry that the woman you love is broken in ways you can't control. That's not fair. Life's not fair. But if you walk away from Claire because she's not perfect, you're going to spend the rest of your life alone. Because no one's perfect, Ethan. Everyone's got damage. The question is whether you love someone enough to help them carry it. Ethan didn't have an answer. Meanwhile, Claire was falling apart. She called Tyler, desperate. He won't answer my calls. I don't know what to do. Give him time. I don't have time. Every day he's gone feels like he's slipping further away. Her voice cracked. I messed up. I know I did. But I love him. And I don't know how to fix this. You can't fix it, Tyler said. You can only be honest. Tell him everything. Not because he demands it, but because you choose to give it. What if it's too late? Then it's too late. But at least you'll know you tried. Claire started writing letters. Pages and pages. Everything she'd never said. About her childhood. About watching her father hit her mother. About the nights they went hungry. About the shame that followed her like a shadow. About meeting Vincent again and how it had reopened every wound she thought she'd healed. She mailed them to Tyler's apartment. One letter every day. Ethan would find them slipped under the door. He'd read them alone in his room, tears streaming down his face. In one letter, she wrote about the coffee ritual. I started it because my parents used to have coffee together every morning before everything fell apart. It was the only time they seemed happy. I wanted to create that with you. Something pure and safe. But then I twisted it into a cover for my lies, and now I've ruined it. I've ruined everything. In another, she wrote about the money. I'm donating every cent to Second Chances, a non-profit for kids whose parents are addicts. Because I was that kid once. And if I can turn my father's guilt into something that helps other children, then maybe all the pain meant something. The letters destroyed him. Because they showed him a Claire he'd never fully seen. Vulnerable. Terrified. Doing her best with tools she didn't have. But they also reminded him of Sarah's apologies. The tears. The promises to change. The way she'd manipulated him into staying long past when he should have left. How do you tell the difference between genuine remorse and manipulation? How do you trust your judgment when it's failed you before? Settle in, get comfortable. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that. You're safe here. 2 weeks passed. Then 3. Ethan went to work. Came home. Read Claire's letters. Felt himself dying a little more each day. Tyler finally confronted him. You need to make a decision. Either forgive her or end it. But this limbo is killing both of you. What if I make the wrong choice? Then you make the wrong choice. But at least you made one. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He got up, paced Tyler's apartment. Pulled out his phone. Scrolled through photos of him and Claire. Her laughing at the beach. Them cooking together. Her asleep on his chest. 2 years of memories that felt both real and fake simultaneously. His finger hovered over her contact. He could call. Right now. Hear her voice. Maybe that would help him decide. But he didn't call. Instead, he opened his laptop. Started going through old files. And found a video he'd forgotten existed. It was from their first anniversary. Claire had recorded a message for him while he was asleep. He'd watched it once, smiled, and filed it away. Now he watched it again. Claire's face filled the screen, soft in the lamplight. She was whispering so she wouldn't wake him. Hey you. It's 2 a.m. and I can't sleep because I keep thinking about how lucky I am. A year ago today, I met someone who made me believe in love again. Someone who sees me and doesn't run. Someone who makes me want to be brave. She paused, her eyes glistening. I know I'm not perfect. I know I have things in my past I'm still working through. Shadows I'm still running from. But you make me want to stop running. You make me want to stand still and face everything I've been afraid of. Because if you can love me, maybe I'm not as broken as I thought. Her voice cracked. I promise, one day I'll tell you everything. All the ugly parts. All the scared parts. And I really hope, you'll still love me. Because Ethan, you saved me. And I don't know if I've told you that enough, but it's true. Before you, I didn't think I deserved real love. And now I can't imagine a life without it. The video ended. Ethan sat in the dark, the screen black, his heart breaking and mending simultaneously. She'd been trying. All along, she'd been trying. And he'd been so focused on the lie that he'd missed the truth underneath it. She hadn't been betraying him. She'd been surviving. Fighting her way toward healing. Working up the courage to be fully seen. And the moment she'd been exposed, he'd abandoned her. Just like her father did. The realization hit him like a physical blow. He'd become the thing she feared most. Another person who left when things got hard. Another person who couldn't handle her damage. Another person who proved that being broken meant being alone. Ethan grabbed his phone. Called Tyler. I need to talk to Vincent. Vincent Lebowski agreed to meet at Riverside Café. Same booth. Same time. Same rain drumming against the windows. Ethan arrived first. Ordered coffee he wouldn't drink. Waited. Vincent walked in at 6:05 a.m., looking surprised to see Ethan there. She's not coming, Ethan said. I asked you here. Vincent slid into the booth across from him, wary. Does she know? No. Then why am I here? Because I need to understand. Ethan leaned forward. You abandoned her. You were abusive. You destroyed her childhood. And somehow, she's sitting across from you every Tuesday, letting you make amends. How? Vincent was quiet for a long moment. Because she's braver than I ever was. That's not an answer. Yes, it is. Vincent wrapped his hands around the coffee cup the waitress brought him. When I tracked Claire down 3 years ago, I expected her to slam the door in my face. I would have deserved it. But she agreed to meet me. One time. She said I could say what I needed to say, and then I'd leave her alone forever. And what did you say? That I was sorry. That getting sober had shown me the monster I'd been. That I couldn't undo the past, but I wanted to try to make some kind of amends, even though I knew it was impossible. What did she say? Vincent's eyes filled with tears. She said, you don't get to feel better about yourself by apologizing. You don't get to transfer your guilt onto me and walk away lighter. If you want to make amends, you do the work. You show up. You be consistent. You prove you're different. So that's what you've been doing. Every Tuesday for 2 years. Same time. Same place. I give her money I should have given her mother. We talk. About her life. Her work. Sometimes about the past. Sometimes not. I don't get to hug her. Don't get to call her my daughter in public. I'm just the man who shows up because she lets me. Why Tuesdays? Because I left on a Tuesday morning. Vincent's voice broke. She was 6 years old, standing in the doorway, asking where I was going. And I told her I'd be right back. But I didn't come back. Not for 15 years. So every Tuesday, I show up. I'm rewriting that morning. Proving that this time, I don't disappear. Ethan sat back. And she's letting you. Even though you don't deserve it. No, I don't. But she's not doing it for me. She's doing it for herself. Because forgiving someone isn't about them deserving it. It's about freeing yourself from carrying their sins. The words settled between them. She's been in therapy, Vincent continued. For over a year. Working through abandonment issues. Trust issues. All the things I gave her when I gave her nothing else. Her therapist said she needed to tell you about me. That keeping secrets from someone you love is a form of self-protection that ultimately destroys the relationship. So she was planning to tell me. Eventually. When she felt safe enough. Vincent looked at Ethan. But here's what you need to understand. Claire's whole life has been about control. Controlling her narrative. Controlling what people see. Controlling who gets to know the real her. Because the one time she was completely vulnerable, completely dependent on someone, that person destroyed her. You mean you? I mean me. Vincent's voice was steady. So when she met you, and you told her about your ex-wife, about how lies destroyed your marriage, she panicked. Because she knew she'd have to tell you about me eventually. And she was terrified that once you knew where she came from, you'd see her differently. As damaged. As her father's daughter. As someone capable of abandonment because it's in her blood. That's not how I see her. Isn't it? Vincent tilted his head. You've been gone for 3 weeks. She made a mistake, and you left. Just like I did. just like she was terrified you would. The accusation hung there, sharp and undeniable. I needed space, Ethan said defensively. From what? Vincent's voice was gentle but firm. From her lie, or from the reality that the woman you love is more complicated than you thought? That she's not just the confident, put-together person she shows the world, but someone who's been fighting her whole life just to feel worthy of love? Ethan felt something crack inside him. I don't know how to trust her again. Then don't. Vincent stood up, dropped cash on the table. Trust isn't something you have. It's something you build. Every day. Through small choices. You can choose to believe she was protecting herself, not betraying you. You can choose to see her courage in meeting with me, facing her past, trying to heal. Or you can choose to see only the lie. But Ethan, if you choose the lie, you're no different than I was. Running when things get hard. Abandoning someone because their damage makes you uncomfortable. He walked out. Ethan sat alone in the cafe, rain streaking the windows, the weight of everything pressing down on him. He thought about Claire's letters. Her video. The 2 years they'd built together. The love that was real even if it was imperfect. He thought about his own damage. How Sarah's betrayal had made him hypervigilant. Paranoid. How he'd followed Claire, invaded her privacy, become exactly the kind of controlling person he despised. Everyone's got damage, Tyler had said. The question is whether you love someone enough to help them carry it. And suddenly, Ethan knew the answer. He pulled out his phone. Called Claire. She answered on the first ring. Ethan? Her voice was wrecked, hopeful, terrified. I'm coming home. Can you meet me there in an hour? Yes. Yes, I'll be there. He hung up. Started his car. Drove through the rain toward the apartment they'd shared. Toward the woman he'd almost lost. Toward the choice to stay instead of run. Toward love that was messy and imperfect and real. When Ethan arrived at the apartment, Claire was already there. She stood in the middle of the living room, surrounded by boxes. She was packing. What are you doing? Ethan asked. Claire looked up, her face tear-stained, exhausted. I figured you wanted me gone. I was going to be out before you got here. I don't want you gone. You've been gone for 3 weeks. Her voice broke. I thought. I was wrong. Ethan set down his keys. About leaving. About how I handled this. About all of it. Claire shook her head. No. You were right. I lied to you. For 2 years. I don't deserve. Stop. Ethan crossed the room, stood in front of her. This isn't about what you deserve. It's about what's true. And the truth is, I made this about me. About my fear of being lied to again. I made your trauma about my trust issues. And that wasn't fair. But I did lie. Because you were scared. Because you were protecting yourself from pain I can't even imagine. Ethan reached for her hands. She let him take them. I talked to your father this morning. Claire's eyes went wide. You what? He told me everything. About the abuse. About how you're letting him make amends. About how you've been in therapy, working toward telling me the truth. He paused. About how brave you are. I'm not brave. I'm a coward. If I were brave, I would have told you from the beginning. If you were a coward, you wouldn't have met with Vincent at all. You would have kept running. But you stopped. You faced your past. You're trying to heal. That's not cowardice, Claire. That's the bravest thing I've ever seen. Tears streamed down her face. I wanted to tell you so many times. But every time I tried, I'd imagine your face changing. The way you'd look at me once you knew. And I couldn't bear it. How would I look at you? Like I was broken. Like I was my father's daughter. Like all the violence and poverty and shame I came from was still inside me, waiting to destroy us. Ethan pulled her close. You're not your father. You're not your past. You're the woman who brings me coffee every morning even though you don't have to. The woman who volunteers at animal shelters on weekends. The woman who's saving $52,000 to help kids who are going through what you went through. You're not broken, Claire. You're becoming. She collapsed against him, sobbing. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I know. And I'm sorry too. For following you. For invading your privacy. For leaving when you needed me most. For becoming so obsessed with not being lied to that I couldn't see why you were lying. They held each other for a long time, the boxes forgotten, the rain outside matching the storm that had finally passed between them. Finally, Claire pulled back. Wiped her face. So what now? Where do we go from here? Forward. Ethan brushed a strand of hair from her face. But with one rule. No more secrets. Ever. Even if you're scared. Even if you think it'll hurt me. Especially if you think it'll hurt me. Because I can handle the truth. What I can't handle is the distance that secrets create. Okay. She nodded. Okay. I promise. And I promise to be patient. To remember that healing isn't linear. To not run when things get hard. Is that what you were doing? Running? Yeah. Ethan smiled sadly. Turns out I'm still pretty good at it. We're a pair, aren't we? Both running from different things. Maybe we can stop running together. Claire laughed through her tears. I'd like that. Ethan reached into his pocket. Pulled out a small velvet box. Claire's breath caught. I bought this 6 months ago, Ethan said. I had this whole plan. Sunset on the beach. Rose petals. A speech about forever. But I realized something. There's no perfect moment. There's only real ones. And this, right here, with you crying and me terrified and both of us standing in the wreckage of our mistakes, this is real. He opened the box. A simple diamond ring caught the light. Claire Ripley, will you marry me? Not because I think you're perfect, but because I love you exactly as you are. Damaged and brave and trying your best. Will you let me spend the rest of my life helping you carry what you can't carry alone? Claire covered her mouth with her hand, fresh tears falling. Yes. God, yes. Ethan slipped the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly. They kissed. Soft at first, then deeper. Two people choosing each other. Again. Despite everything. Because of everything. When they finally pulled apart, Claire whispered, I have so much to tell you. About my childhood. About my mom. About everything I've been hiding. And I want to hear all of it. Ethan touched her face. But we don't have to do it all today. We have time now. All the time in the world. She smiled. Really? Really? We're getting married, remember? Claire looked down at the ring on her finger. Laughed. Cried. Held Ethan like she'd never let go. Outside, the rain finally stopped. Sunlight broke through the clouds, painting everything gold. And in that small apartment, two broken people began the work of healing together. 6 months later, the morning sun streamed through the windows of a small chapel overlooking Puget Sound. The rain had finally given way to one of those perfect Seattle days where the sky was impossibly blue and the air smelled like cedar and salt water. Claire stood in the bridal suite, staring at herself in the mirror. Her wedding dress was simple, elegant, nothing like the elaborate gown she'd imagined as a little girl. Back then, she'd dreamed her father would walk her down the aisle. Back then, she hadn't known that dreams could die and be reborn into something better. There was a knock on the door. Come in. Vincent stepped inside, and Claire's breath caught. He wore a charcoal suit, the same color as the one he'd worn to all those Tuesday meetings. But today, his eyes were bright. Hopeful. "You look beautiful," he said quietly. "Thank you." Claire smoothed her dress, suddenly nervous. "For being here. For everything." Vincent crossed the room. Stood beside her at the mirror. For a moment, they just looked at their reflection. Father and daughter. Separated by years of pain but standing together now. "I never thought I'd get to do this," Vincent said. "Walk you down the aisle. Be part of your wedding day. It's more than I deserve." Ethan's idea. Claire's voice was soft. "He said everyone deserves a chance to rewrite their story. He's a good man." "Yeah." She smiled. "He is." Vincent turned to face her fully. "Claire, I need to say something before we go out there. I know I've apologized 1,000 times. But I need you to hear this one more time. What I did to you and your mother, there's no excuse for it. I stole your childhood. I made you afraid of trust and love and vulnerability. And the fact that you're standing here today, about to marry someone, willing to be that vulnerable, that's not because of me. That's in spite of me. I know." Claire met his eyes. "But I'm choosing to let you be here anyway. Not because you earned it. But because I'm tired of letting the past control the present. You can't change what happened. But you showed up. For 2 years, you showed up. And that matters. I'll keep showing up. For as long as you let me." Claire reached out, squeezed his hand. "I know. Before we continue, can I ask a tiny favor? Hit that subscribe button. It means more than you know." Music began playing outside. "Time to go." Vincent offered his arm. "Ready?" Claire took it. "As ready as I'll ever be." They walked out of the bridal suite, down the hallway, to the doors of the chapel. Through the glass, Claire could see the small gathering of guests. Tyler standing as best man. Her mother in the front row, crying already. Friends from work. People from the animal shelter. And at the end of the aisle, Ethan. Looking at her like she was the only person in the world. The doors opened. Music swelled. Everyone stood. Vincent and Claire began walking. With each step, Claire felt the weight of the past falling away. The shame. The fear. The belief that her damage made her unworthy of love. She'd carried it for so long, it had become part of her. But now, walking toward Ethan, she felt lighter than she'd ever been. Halfway down the aisle, Vincent whispered, "I'm proud of you. I know I don't have the right to say that. But I am." Claire's eyes filled with tears, but she kept walking. Kept moving forward. When they reached the altar, Ethan stepped down to meet them. He shook Vincent's hand. "Thank you for bringing her to me." Vincent's voice was thick with emotion. "Take care of her. Please." "I will. Every day." Vincent kissed Claire's cheek, then stepped back. Ethan took Claire's hands, and they turned to face the officiant. The ceremony was beautiful. Simple. When it came time for the vows, Ethan went first. "Claire, I'm not going to stand here and promise I'll be perfect. Because I won't be. I'll forget to take out the trash. I'll get cranky when I'm hungry. I'll probably drive you crazy with how particular I am about my coffee." He smiled, and laughter rippled through the chapel. "But I promise to show up. Every day. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. I promise to see you, the real you, and love every part of what I see. The strong parts and the scared parts. The healed parts and the parts that are still healing. I promise to never run. And if I do, I promise to come back. Because you taught me that love isn't about being perfect. It's about being brave enough to stay." Claire was crying openly now. When it was her turn, she took a shaky breath. "Ethan, you saved me. And I know you hate when I say that, but it's true. Not because you fixed me or rescued me, but because you saw me. The real me. Even the parts one tried to hide. And you didn't run. She paused, composing herself. I spent so long believing I had to be perfect to be loved. That I had to erase my past and pretend I came from somewhere else. But you taught me that my past doesn't define me. My choices do. And every day, I choose you. I choose honesty. I choose vulnerability. I choose to stop running and start building. With you. Always with you. There wasn't a dry eye in the chapel. The officiant smiled. By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride. Ethan pulled Claire close, kissed her deeply. Everyone cheered. Tyler whistled. Vincent wiped his eyes. When they pulled apart, Ethan whispered, "We did it." "We did it," Claire agreed. They walked back down the aisle together, hand in hand, husband and wife. And as they stepped out into the sunlight, Claire felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. The reception was held in a garden overlooking the water. String lights hung between trees. Tables were decorated with wildflowers. It was intimate, warm, exactly what they'd wanted. During dinner, Claire stood to give a speech. She tapped her glass, and the room quieted. "I want to thank everyone for being here today." She looked around at all the faces. Some of you have known me for years. Some of you are newer to my life. But all of you have shown me what it means to be part of a community. To be seen and accepted. She found Ethan's eyes. This man right here, he changed my life. Not by fixing me, but by loving me exactly as I am. By being patient with my healing. By showing me that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's strength. Then she found Vincent in the crowd. And I want to acknowledge my father. Vincent Lebowski. She saw him stiffen, surprise crossing his face. For a long time, I tried to erase him from my story. But I've learned that you can't heal by pretending wounds don't exist. You heal by exposing them to light. My father hurt me. He failed me. But he also came back. He did the work. He showed up. And because of that, we get to be here together today. Rewriting our story. Proving that people can change. That families can heal. Vincent was openly crying now. Claire continued. Ethan and I have decided to donate the money my father has given me over the past 2 years, $52,000, to Second Chances. It's a non-profit that helps children whose parents struggle with addiction. Because those kids deserve to know they're not defined by their parents' mistakes. That they're worthy of love and support and second chances. The crowd erupted in applause. Vincent stood, crossed the room, hugged Claire tightly. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for letting me be part of this." "Thank you for not giving up," Claire said back. When Vincent returned to his seat, Ethan stood. He had his own surprise. "I also want to make an announcement." He looked at Claire. "I know you weren't expecting this. But Vincent and I have been working on something together. We've created a scholarship fund in your mother's name. The Rebecca Ripley Memorial Scholarship. It will provide full college tuition for young women who've experienced domestic violence in their homes. Because your mother was a fighter. She worked 3 jobs to give you a better life. And we want to honor that by helping other women like her. Other daughters like you." Claire's hand flew to her mouth. She looked between Ethan and Vincent, overwhelmed. "You did this? For my mom?" "We did it for you," Ethan said. "But yeah. For her too." Claire broke down completely. Happy tears. Healing tears. Tears for the mother who'd sacrificed everything. Tears for the father who was trying to make amends. Tears for the husband who saw her and loved her anyway. The reception continued with dancing and laughter and joy. Tyler gave a toast about how Ethan had been a grumpy hermit before Claire came along. Claire's mom shared stories about Claire as a child, stubborn and brave even then. Vincent stayed in the background, quiet but present, exactly where he belonged. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Ethan and Claire snuck away from the party. They walked down to the water's edge, hand in hand, still in their wedding clothes. "How are you feeling?" Ethan asked. "Happy." Claire leaned into him. "Scared." "Grateful." Everything at once. "That sounds about right." He wrapped his arm around her. "You know, 6 months ago, I thought we were over. I thought there was no way we'd get here." "Me too. But we did. We chose each other. Even when it was hard. Even when it would have been easier to walk away." Claire looked up at him. "Do you regret it? Choosing the hard thing?" "Not for a second." Ethan kissed her forehead. "You're worth every hard thing, Claire. Every uncomfortable conversation. Every moment of uncertainty. You're worth it all. So are you." They stood there as the sun dipped below the horizon, the sky turning dark, stars beginning to emerge. Behind them, music and laughter floated from the reception. Ahead of them, the water stretched endlessly, full of possibility. "Ready to head back?" Ethan asked. "Not yet." Claire squeezed his hand. "Let's stay here a little longer." "Just us." "Okay. Just us." And they did. They stayed until the stars filled the sky. Until the air turned cold. Until they were ready to return to the celebration. To their friends. Their family. Their new life together. Months passed. Ethan and Claire settled into married life in a new apartment closer to the water. Every morning, Claire still brought Ethan coffee. But now, he knew where it really came from. And it tasted sweeter for the honesty. They had hard days. Days when Claire's anxiety spiked and she spiraled into old fears. Days when Ethan's trust issues flared and he had to actively choose not to be paranoid. But they talked through it. Went to couples therapy. Did the work. Vincent became a regular part of their lives. Not every Tuesday anymore, but often. Family dinners. Holiday celebrations. He met Claire's mom again, apologized, asked for nothing in return. She accepted his apology and kept her distance, which he respected. The scholarship fund launched. The first recipient was a 17-year-old girl from Tacoma whose mother had fled an abusive relationship. When she gave her acceptance speech, she thanked Rebecca Ripley for being an example of strength. Claire cried through the entire thing. Second Chances used the donation to open a new facility. They invited Claire and Ethan to the ribbon-cutting ceremony. Claire gave a speech about her own childhood, her voice steady, no longer ashamed. Afterward, dozens of people came up to thank her for her bravery in sharing her story. One morning, exactly a year after their wedding, Claire woke up early. She made coffee, brought it to Ethan in bed, kissed his forehead just like she always did. But this time, when Ethan opened his eyes, she was holding something. A positive pregnancy test. "We're having a baby," she whispered. Ethan sat up, fully awake. "Are you serious?" Claire nodded, crying and laughing at the same time. "We're going to be parents." Ethan pulled her close, held her tight. "We're going to be amazing parents." "What if I mess up? What if I'm like my father?" "You won't be." Ethan pulled back, looked her in the eyes. "Because you know what damage looks like. You've done the work to heal. And you're not alone. We're doing this together." Claire kissed him. Together. 9 months later, they welcomed a daughter. They named her Rebecca, after Claire's mother. And when Vincent held his granddaughter for the first time, he wept. "I don't deserve this," he said. "Maybe not," Claire replied. "But she does. She deserves a grandfather who shows up. Who's present. Who's changed." Vincent looked at his daughter, holding her daughter, and understood that redemption wasn't about erasing the past. It was about building a different future. Years passed. Rebecca grew. Ethan and Claire grew too. They fought sometimes. Made mistakes. Apologized. Forgave. Built a life that was messy and imperfect and beautiful. Every Tuesday, without fail, they still had coffee together. Sometimes at home. Sometimes at a café. It didn't matter where. What mattered was the ritual. The showing up. The choice to be present. One Tuesday morning, when Rebecca was 5 years old, she asked, "Why do you always have coffee on Tuesdays?" Claire and Ethan looked at each other. Smiled. "Because Tuesdays are for showing up," Claire said. "For the people we love. No matter what." Rebecca seemed to accept this. She went back to her coloring. Ethan reached across the table, took Claire's hand. "Still glad you stayed?" he asked. "Every day," Claire said. "Every single day." And it was true. Despite the pain of the past. Despite the lies and the secrets and the fear. Despite everything that had tried to break them. They'd stayed. They'd healed. They'd built something real. And that made all the difference. The final scene, Ethan, Claire, and Rebecca in their living room. Morning light streaming through the windows. Rebecca drawing at the coffee table. Claire leaning against Ethan on the couch, his arm around her, her hand resting on his chest. Just like that first night they'd fallen asleep together years ago. "Still from the corner shop?" Ethan teased, nodding at the coffee cups. Claire grinned. "Always. But now you know where I really go on Tuesdays." "Therapy?" "Therapy." She laughed. "Because healing isn't a destination. It's a practice." They clinked mugs. Watched their daughter draw. Felt the weight of everything they'd overcome and the lightness of everything ahead. And in that moment, they were exactly where they were supposed to be. Together. Healing. Home. Trust isn't the absence of secrets. It's the courage to share them. What do you think? Was Ethan right to be angry? Drop your thoughts below. And remember, sometimes the person who walked away simply made space for the life you deserved all along. But sometimes, the person who stays creates the life you never knew was possible. Thanks for being here with me today, beautiful souls. If this story touched you, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? We're family now. I'll see you in the next one.